in honor of an elite member of BYU Sports Nation, Pro Football Hall of Famer, Super Bowl MVP, Steve Young joins us live. Steve, you called your shot on ESPN that the Cougars would beat the Utes. How does it feel to be right?
It feels really good. You know, I was joking that last year they were afraid to play us because they were afraid to play Zach. And man, it was funny to see everybody heat up on that. Like, come on, man, I'm just joking. I'm just half joking. But yeah, no, what was great about it was not only just the emotion in the stadium and just it was like, wow, you could sense what had happened the day before, but it was the football. It was the dynamic. A-Rod is on fire. And I told Dave Dunn, who represents Kalani Sitake, who's my agent as well, Dave, you don't start thinking that A-Rod needs to go to the 49ers or go. Like, A-Rod is there for as long as Kalani's there. A-Rod is there. And that you could, because I just felt like JAREN he opened up, and you could see that his game is going to get better and better as he gets more comfortable. And A-Rod finds places to accentuate that. And I love about that. What I said to Kalani after the game is what happened defensively. Instead of just kind of very vanilla, bend but don't break, kind of just be a tough guy, want to punch everything in the mouth, it felt like we were coming dynamically from all over the place. And the Utes couldn't quite catch up, and it went the whole game. So when you have that offensively kind of innovation coming at you from a lot of different places, and then you get on the defensive side, it's the same kind of feeling when you're just kind of getting overrun. You don't know what to do, and all of a sudden you get that glazed look in your eye, and then the ball's on the ground, and stuff just, you know, so, and they never really recovered. And you know, I'm sure at the end of the game, when you play a team like the Cougs were on Saturday, you can't remember it. You're like, what happened? And the Utes were driving back up to Salt Lake, and the bus is going, what was that? And that's what you want everyone thinking about every week. Is like, what? I couldn't remember what happened. It was so dynamic, and so that was fun for me to watch from a kind of technical perspective on what BYU could be this year because of both sides of the ball.
Absolutely. So many things to digest. Let's talk about JAREN Hall and his play. BYU Statsman on Twitter just mentioned that the 104 career pass attempts of JAREN Hall without an interception is the most to start a career without an interception. You are number 2 at 58 attempts. So pretty good. He's not turning the ball over.
58 until Utah State on Friday night before John. I remember that one. Wow. And Todd Chill had to save my bacon on that one. But anyway, you know, and by the way, the game is becoming, the pro game is becoming more like college. The college game is becoming like just wild. Everybody's open. There's all kinds of opportunity. And I can't, I mean, I spend the weekend, whenever I do watch football, my family doesn't watch the football. My son's a music theater major. My other son's a gamer. My wife doesn't really like football. We've talked about this before. So I don't get to watch it. I'm usually at the oven or the stove cooking lunch or dinner, watching something on my phone. But whenever I watch, I'm like, where was I through all this? This is so great. This is so much fun to play quarterback right now. And JAREN's going to be, he's you could just see him kind of come out. You know what I mean? Like, it was like there was a power to his game on Saturday that I think is going to pay off the rest of the year as the confidence builds. And I you know, the excitement and the confidence and the feelings, especially after what happened on Friday, man, I don't. There's no bigger 2 days in the history of BYU sports ever close.
Seriously.
Last Friday and Saturday.
Yep.
Yeah, no, that is an accurate statement. In fact, as you compare the two, a Power 5 invitation to the Big 12 Conference, which BYU has been waiting forever for, and then they break the streak against Utah. BYU is competing not just against Utah, but against history. And the idea that they would have to sit on another 3 years of losing to Utah because they're not going to play for the next 2 years. Steve, what was the bigger deal? What had you more excited, the Big 12 invite or breaking the streak?
Well, emotionally, obviously, Saturday was huge, right? Especially with the Utes being in the top 20 and looking like they might win the Pac-12 and could go to a major bowl. Like, that's the way that they were looking at the season, and they still should. But there's not even close. No matter how much emotion you had for Saturday, Friday was by far the most important day in BYU sports history.
Amen.
By far. We have waited for 40 years. Everything that we've done ever since Mark Wilson beat Texas A&M, or you name it back in the day, Virgil Carter, we've always been, wow, that was great, but, and we never could get into the mix. And whatever we did to threaten whatever top 10, top 5, even times top 20s over the years, they're always with a but. And we were okay. Look, we've been like a bulldog in the pant leg of the NCAA football Division I. We're not letting go, and I love that about us. And we've always had that spirit that we're punching above our weight, that we're doing more than anyone thought we could. It was like, that's who we are. That's what we've always felt, and we've relished in that role. But we've always deeply wanted to have a seat at the table. And so for 40 years, desiring that, and then on Friday, getting that opportunity to have the seat at the table, it was a glory. I mean, it's a glorious moment for all of us, anyone that's ever been associated with BYU sports, to take a breath and recognize that there's no more buts. It's just, we're in it. And now everything we do is to put money in the bank for what we can accomplish into the future. And I can't tell you, Friday was a culmination of efforts from a lot of people through a lot of years. And, whether it was the Pac-12 or the Big 12 or efforts under, kind of any efforts we had to try to get that done. And honestly, we need to go back even further, not back further, but just dig a little bit deeper. BYU's athletics, BYU Hawaii had left athletics. BYU Idaho, back in Rick's day, but BYU Idaho has left athletics. And not that BYU would ever lose athletics. It's entrenched here. We get that. But over time, if somehow the ESPN contract fell, or somehow, we were propped up in a very precarious spot. And we, again, relished it. We leaned into it. Tom did a great job. President Worthen did a great, Keith Vorkink. Everybody was working hard to be independent and be great. But it was not a place of, it's kind of like when you remember that thing when you were a kid and you blew into the tube and the bubble, and the ball had to be in between the lines. You had to hold it as long as you can before you ran out of breath and kind of set a record. That's what it felt like we were trying to do as independents. It was like it was this high wire act every year. And I'm like, fine, we did it. And we did it as well as anybody could, but that's over. And a huge sigh of relief that we can now we're settled. And I think Saturday was a part of Friday. Saturday came on because of that settled. Everyone's like, I don't know how I felt. Like, we're settled. We put the Big 12 hat. Tom put the Big 12 hat on, and now we come out as BYU Cougars of the Big 12, and we come from a different place, a different emotional space. And I just get my hand, what is that? The tingles. I got it all over my body just talking about it.
I'm thinking about that too. And I was like, is this heaven? Everybody's here at this game. We're all together. We're all celebrating the Big 12. We're remembering 9/11. There's new video boards. There's a flyover that's crazy low and loud. The energy was incredible. It was amazing. And I think back, Steve, to your point, 4 years ago, BYU was in an uncomfortable position at 4-9 and firing Ty Detmer and not knowing what the future is going to be like. But at that moment, BYU was able to get Zach Wilson, able to take advantage of chaos of the pandemic, to really shine. We already shone for 40 years, but to really shine at the very end with the season that mattered. And now we're sitting here in ecstasy over a Big 12 invite and win over Utah and another ranked matchup coming up on Saturday. This is about as good as it gets.
And you guys make a good point that that just shows you how at risk we were. And yet what COVID did for us, the COVID season with Zach and the ability to kind of play on national TV and make a difference, I think created a space where Bob Bowlesby, who was the commissioner at the Big 12, I know someone who's very close to me was with him last week, and his description of BYU was the linchpin of expansion, and BYU was the one that we called first. and nervous about what our answer would be. And when we were just, just excited and jumped in and we're capable. Remember, we're independent, so we're more capable than anybody else, and that was such a positive. And so, and I think that a lot of the things that have transacted through COVID, I think reasserted who we could be and who we were, and so many of the efforts underneath. Liz Darger, or there's people all over the athletic department that have created an environment of inclusiveness, environment of safety for LGBT athletes, for marginalized athletes, for a spirit that they've created that has resonated with people outside. And they've done that on their own. They've done that with in that spirit of oneness that BYU athletics really has taken on. And so I think all of that has resonated out to the world. And and look, nothing's perfect and nothing's nothing's easy. But I want to tell the people in the BYU athletic department that they have done some special work to allow for this space to happen where the Big 12 could take us in. And my hat's off to them, and I'm really grateful to them.
Very well said. Tom Holmoe, Brian Santiago, Liz Darger, President Worthen, Vice President Keith
Chad
Borky.
Lewis, Lee Johnson. I mean, we got all my buddies back from the day. I mean,
yes.
We got Keith Vorking at the VP level and what he's done in just a brief amount of time. And President Worthen stepped up. We had confidentially, we were looking at all we were under every rock, and especially us. We're probably looking at the Pac-12 as much as anybody. When they closed that door 2 weeks ago, but we'll talk about the work that was done there some other time. It was that's not for today. But President Worthen and Keith and Tom, and I mean we have really good people.
Yeah,
really good people at BYU. It's just fun to be associated with them.
Incredible stuff on the shoulders of giants. All right, Steve, we'll finish with this. Just because we know you're watching Zach Wilson closely as a New York Jet.
While he, gets lunch ready.
Yeah, of course, yes. On your phone.
I almost teared up 3 times in the last 10 minutes.
It's emotional.
I want to start crying. I was like, geez, what am we doing? We're on Sports Day. I can't look weak,
Crying is strength, Steve.
It really is a tear. It's like it's an emotional weekend. I don't know how else to put it. So
yeah, understandable.
All right, go ahead. Move on.
No, listen. When Tom Holmoe was making the announcement, I cried. I'm with you, man. It was awesome. Okay, Zach Wilson's debut as a New York Jet. There were some BYU fans that teared up when he threw his first touchdown pass. See where that kid has come from and his journey and all that stuff. What did you think of his debut performance in the NFL?
It reminded me when I remember being in Denver, and it was my first year with the 49ers in 1987. It's Joe Montana. And I remember that great story where Bill Walsh told me that Joe Montana had 2 back surgeries and he was going to be hurt and I was going to come in and play. And then all of a sudden, I remember Joe jogged out the first practice, like, he looks pretty healthy. And I just remember that whole preseason kind of trying to figure out where I was and what the NFL was all about. And we went to Denver for a preseason game. And it was it was vicious. I mean, it's preseason, but I was like, whew. Man, the Broncos were flying around. And Joe was like, wow. And I remember thinking, man, this NFL stuff is no joke. The NFL's changed dramatically. You don't see that in the preseason anymore. You don't even get a chance at seeing that kind of thing in the preseason. It's not even close. It's nothing. Preseason is nothing. So all of a sudden you get the first game, you go to Carolina, and Carolina plays some great defense historically and had a team. All of a sudden it's a speed that Zach's never seen. That offensive line has not seen. And they just get overrun. You can see it's like that offensive line is like, whoa, we need to timeout break. We need a break. And they first half was just a mauling. But Zach, to me, just hung in there, right? Don't make any crazy mistakes. Don't anything stupid. Don't freak out. Just hang in there. Don't complain. Don't give any kind of sense of frustration with your offensive line. Just kind of hang. He was a pro. He was a young pro, but he was a pro, and he handled it. Then what does it have in the fourth quarter? A couple of nice throws, get back in the ball game, give him the ball one more time. Maybe I go win this thing. So, I mean, in the end, that whole team saw what the NFL is all about yesterday. A lot of young players, Coach Salah's first game, and now they got punched in the mouth. And, the old saying with, was it Mike Tyson, everyone has a plan to get punched in the mouth. They got punched in the mouth yesterday. They came back. They'll get better. And I said this on TV the other day, like by the end of the season, I think Zach's going to be the rookie of the year. So
love it.
But it'll take some time.
Steve, so great to talk to you. I know you got a flight to catch. We got to get on with the rest of the show, but it's such a pleasure to talk to you. Great time to be a BYU Cougar. We'll be watching you tonight on ESPN.
All right, let's not tear up anymore, man.
No more crying.
What an amazing few days. What an amazing few days. Cougar Nation, that was awesome. We'll see you around. Anyone sees me down in Vegas for the game tonight, yell, scream, let me know you're there. I would love to say hi.
You got it. Thanks, Steve. Talk to you later, my friend.
Okay, see you, Jaren. See you.